And you say the administrative state. I hear regulatory state when you say that. I think that's what you mean. And you
That
were
is
one
what
of
I
the
mean.
first people, yeah. And you were one of the first people I heard talk about the capture or the cozy relationship between corporate and government, and that needs to be disentangled. I am persuaded that that is a much more pervasive and serious problem than we can even imagine, and really won't know until we start unraveling it. Is that something you're going to go at right away?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I've said is that on day one, I would issue an executive order requiring every government bureaucrat in that administrative state, that regulatory state, the three-letter agencies in Washington, D.C., to at least make public through sunshine, the public can see it, anytime they have pressured a private company or private actor to do something that the government could not legally accomplish on its own. We need to roll that log over and see what crawls out. Tell the truth again in government. Government officials haven't told the truth for a very long time. My campaign slogan is one word: truth. And that is the way I will govern. Is the first step to fixing the corruption is to see it. We got to roll that log over, not only see what crawls out, but I'll be bringing the pesticide. But that's something that I'm very focused on. I've written 2 of my 3 books are about exactly this merger of state power and private power to together accomplish what neither can on its own. One area where we see it is on internet censorship, where the government can't censor speech directly. So what do? They do through the back door what government couldn't do through the front door. They pressure and they give carrots and sticks. Use both carrots and sticks to get companies like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter to be able to silence speech that the government couldn't directly. We now know that government officials were pressuring executives at Twitter specifically to silence the account of one individual who is critical of the government's policy of its handling of COVID-19. Whether or not you agree with the government's policy handling of COVID-19, we do not and should not want to live in a country where government officials can silence the critics of government. If the First Amendment was created to protect against anything, it is that. Same thing with respect to the so-called ESG movement, environmental, social, and governance factors in capital markets. What do we see? You have a Green New Deal that couldn't pass through Congress. Well, Biden's climate czar, John Kerry, is now effectively, has boasted about it, worked with banking CEOs to get them to sign a sort of climate pledge, a North America net zero agreement instead. That's not democracy. That's not a constitutional republic. That's not capitalism. It's a form of, and I use this word intentionally in the strict sense that Mussolini first used this word. It's a kind of fascism, a merger of state power and corporate power to accomplish what neither could on its own. It's what I, in my first book, called the woke industrial complex. But really, this isn't a left-wing or a right-wing issue. This is a fundamental American issue. We fought a revolution in 1776 to say that we, the people, decide how we settle our political differences through free speech and open debate in the public square, where everyone's voice and vote counts equally. That's how we're supposed to do things in America, not to have it done through the back door where a bunch of business elites and labor elites and church leaders get together behind closed doors in the old world and decide in the back of palace halls how the rest of society ought to be governed. That is not how we do things here in America. That was a 1776 moment, a revolution in 1776. I think we live in a sort of 1776 moment today where we would do well to remember those ideals of self-governance over aristocracy. This dream that our founding fathers had, frankly, a dream that I have as a citizen today, that the people who we elect to run the government should be the ones who actually run the government, not the 3 people in the 3-letter agencies who were never elected, and not the people who they're deputizing now in the private sector to do their dirty work instead. So that's a central part of my vision. You're right to point it out.
And we have a new threat to that rising above sovereign authorities that have been voted in place, which is the World Health Organization has a massive plan for usurping control over all governments. It's the most astonishing document I've ever seen in my life, and yet there seems to be little concern in our government about this. To me, it feels like one of the biggest threats ever. Are you familiar with this?
I am, and I think that we should stop funding organizations that are fundamentally hostile to our sovereignty If the U.S. stops funding the WHO, so goes the WHO. And so it should go, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would be the end of that.